Hey everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to look at an article in the Telegraph that cuts a wedge through the culture war we're going through at the minute and maybe show that the left have overstepped the boundaries and more are seeing this disgusting racism and sexism from the left as just that, lefty hatred. You may find this useful and quite hopeful if this guy is starting to see the divisiveness and hate coming from the left and it's intersectional and identity politics. I have hope many more people are waking up to the fact our way of life is under attack too, and it deserves us to stand up and fight for what is right. Time for the silent majority to become the extremely loud majority. I'm sick of being trampled on by everyone, and now is the time to end this. I understand a lot of you are scared to lose your jobs, reputations, freedoms, but if we don't fight this, we as a nation and a union will be finished, in my opinion. Think not of yourselves, think of Queen, country, honour, duty and children. Whatever it is you need to grow the minerals to fight. To say no en masse, in other words. This article is titled, "The Racist and Sexist Language of the Left is Hopelessly Hypocritical. The Oppression Olympics has reached a new low as an extreme divisive lexicon is imported from America." Before we get into it, Anne, play the intro.
And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
Thank you, Anne. So as you can see, this guy, what's he called? Let's have a look. Nick Timothy has effectively told the world the left are what we know them as. Remember, the Telegraph is not a right-wing paper either, everyone, and still they can't refute where the real racism lies, can they? Let's read his opinion, shall we, and see what he says. Not long ago, lefties used to rail against American cultural imperialism. The television shows, movies, burger chains, greed, selfishness, dog-eat-dog business practices, even the reverse takeover of the English language. They hated it all. These days, we still get the performative protests against the US foreign policy and hatred towards Donald Trump, but the complaints against cultural imperialism are no more, because the British liberal left has itself been swallowed by its American counterpart. Its adherence now follows US culture wars like they would a handbook for revolutionaries. LARPers, you mean? Consider their attitude to racism and sexism. There is, quite rightly, a consensus in the country that there should be a zero tolerance towards racist and sexist discrimination. Yeah, I agree on our side, mister. Not so much on the left. I've seen footage of eye-opening racism from Labour and the Liberals, Socialists, etc. More than I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm nearly 50 years old. The left disgusts me nowadays. There is, in most of society, an understanding that racism and sexism are punishable, if not always by law, then by social norm, through personal and professional ostracism. But can we honestly say this is evenly applied? Increasingly, acceptable racist and sexist discourse is creeping into public debate, using languages imported from the US. Lefties dismiss white women with the wrong views as Karens. In Britain, white men are gammons. Gammons is not just white men, it's whites in general. Just like far right is now specifically a lefty slur for any working class whites that don't like lefty divisive politics, or that have the goal to support Brexit, national pride and our culture, that is. The meaning of gammon is clear enough. It refers to angry white men, not so, growing ruddy as they fulminate about Brexit, immigration and the political perspective shared by millions, yet deemed unacceptable by the liberal left. The reference to skin colour is not only unmistakable, it is the very purpose of the insult. And yet, they get away with it, don't they? Why is that? It's because racism against whites is not classed as racism. Is it not? We are chastised for being racist when we're not. The left get to be racist while claiming anti-racism. Don't believe me? Read the white supremacist racist rhetoric from lefty bitch Robin DiAngelo and the disgusting book titled White Fragility, which is absolutely a confession from a real full-blooded racist. And this is being taught in us as an anti-racism tool. Please get the book and read it to see. The etymology of Karens is opaque. But to call a woman Karen is to accuse her of hurting minorities while using her feminine vulnerability to get away with it. Actually, Nick, let me stop you. Karen had nothing to do with race when it was first used. It was first used to describe the type of woman that complains vigorously at the slightest thing and has an entitled tint to it. You are listening to the very left you're opposing to equate that to racism. The left, and people in particular, adopted the term to mean racist white middle-aged women. They can because it enables them to legally harass, attack, intimidate and film for public shaming white middle class women specifically. In other words, as a white person, she is an oppressor, but as a woman, she can play the victim. Applied generally, this is a slur that perpetuates sexist narratives about women and declares white women collectively guilty on the base of their race, which is racism, which is no more acceptable with white women as it would be with black people or any other racial group. Exactly. But yet it is with the media and the government and all of the left. How on earth have we reached this point? Well, we fell asleep, didn't we? Politically, the working class, we fell asleep. We've allowed the left to take over, and now we reap the benefits. Great, isn't it? How can it be that in the name of anti-racism and anti-sexism, left liberals are prepared to tolerate and use racist and sexist language? Because they're the real racists and sexists? Not hard to figure that one out, is it? Patrick Deneen, an American academic, sees the influence of John Stuart Mill's harm principle, great, by arguing that the only grounds for limiting individual freedom is harm. Mill paved the way for what has become known as Oppression Olympic, a competition for individuals and activist groups to prove that they suffer greater harm than others and are therefore more deserved of state intervention, recognition and support, and protection from any sort of criticism, it seems to be. There are traces of postmodernist thought in our predicament too. Today's left liberals follow thinkers such as Michel Foucault, who argued that all discourse is oppressive. Oh my God. Did he really? Well, obviously he's discreditable as an absolute buffoon then, isn't he? Our social realities, he said, are imposed on us through language and customs and institutions. For today's left liberals then, oppressive discourses maintain exploitative hierarchies, which mean the pursuit of equal rights is a trap. Is it really? Ask Dawn Butler, ask Lammy. Go on, ask them if hierarchies matter. They'll probably tell you they do, but their positions show that they don't, do they not? The hierarchy must be overturned, and because historically power lay with white men, whiteness and masculinity must be attacked. I'd like to ask in reply to that, how is that so, considering the white European is a minority in the world? This is my issue. I'm from a long line of English working class people. We have zero power. We never have. 400 years. To bunch all whites together as oppressors is like me bunching all blacks together for any reason. That I will not do, as guess what? I'm not racist. I believe Martin Luther King, and I don't give a feck that the left think I'm racist. I know I'm not, my friends know I'm not, and that's all that matters to me. Foucault influenced the thinkers behind the fashionable theory of intersectionality. Kimberly Crenshaw, an American academic, observed that the experiences of black women were different to those of black men and white women, because the intersectional experience is greater than the sum of racism and sexism. Wow, that's linguistic cartwheels, isn't it? She argued any analysis that does not take intersectionality into account cannot sufficiently address the particular manner in which black women are subordinated. Have you ever seen black women? Oh, whoa. Oh, woe is me to the black woman. We are the most hurty. Behave yourselves, you're fucking adults. You have the skills to succeed, but you don't. That isn't our fault. That's on you. Crenshaw's core observation that the experiences of black women are likely to be different to those of black men and white women is of course true. Is it really? I disagree with that. But we should be skeptical about the profundity of her point. First, it is reductive. Our ethnicity and sex affect who we are, but they do not define us. Exactly. This is exactly what the problem is, in my opinion. Ethnicity and sex shouldn't matter at all. Wasn't that the philosophy of Martin Luther King? I think it was. Our abilities, character and beliefs count at least as much as our skin colour and reproductive organ. If we continue down this path, everything Martin Luther King achieved will be washed away. And I see this intersectional rubbish as driving a wedges and fixing absolutely nothing. In fact, it's actually exacerbating things. Don't believe me? We've got men versus women, trans versus feminist, black versus white, etc, etc. How is this trash ever going to make us equal? It isn't, is it? It's going to make it acceptable to discriminate, and I find that abhorrent. The second problem is that intersectionality neglects other factors beyond our personalities that shape our lives and opportunities. Social class is often overlooked, even though the education and prosperity of our parents is the biggest determinant of our life chances. Economic geography is also ignored, even though it can count just as much. Twice as many disadvantaged children from London, for example, go to university compared to the rest of the country, and the uni spit them back out as hateful freeloaders wanting the world to give them without earning with merit. Am I wrong on that? Yet factors like these are neglected by intersectionality theorists and practitioners of identity politics. And as intersectionality has made its way from academic theory to reality through government policies, the workplace and courts of law and the oppression of Olympics has become not only about proving that some identity groups are suffering, but also that other identity groups cause that suffering. And that, together with this postmodernistic belief that we oppress others through language and actions whose meaning we cannot understand, which renders us guilty regardless of intent or meaning, is what makes the new woke racism supposedly acceptable. And what makes the left attacking working class for fake crimes? The middle class are effectively playing the workers against each other, or the poor, however you want to class us. And I really suspect it's for the sole purpose of punishment for Brexit. But what say you? And that is not all. The Oppression Olympics encourage activists representing different identities to claim the prejudice and harm they face is tougher than those experienced by others. This is why Sir Keir Starmer, the kneeler, promised to oppose not just racism, but anti-black racism. So that's a discrimination of racism, isn't it? I'll fight racism, but I'll also fight anti-black racism. It's the same thing, is it not, Keir? Is it not? Or is anti-black racism more important? You see what I mean? It is why, when he apologised for Labour's anti-Semitism scandal, black activists warned against hierarchy of racism. I knew that was what they were going to come out with. I saw it coming, everyone. I saw it coming. And it is why, even as the feminist writer Helen Lewis condemned the language of Karens last week, she did so because it's become a catch-all term for shaming women, and not because its premise is racist as well as sexist. Still too scared to discuss the elephant in the room, I see. People, we need to pay more attention to who we vote for and their beliefs. Part of the blame for this is on us being voting sheep, i.e. I've always voted Labour, I've always voted Tory. This is our main problem, really. We've allowed people to sneak in that we would not agree with at any other time. The left gained control and now they don't want to give it up. That's all this is, even if that means the end of the UK as we know it. And this is the problem with the militant identity politics that fuel our culture war. That liberals can accept such slurs demonstrates the hypocrisy and hopelessness of their project. They are incapable of forging and sharing identity that makes solidarity and thus compromise, tolerance and sacrifice possible. They are only capable of dividing and not uniting. It is beyond time to stop counting privilege points and start building a politics of the common good. We had one, it was called merit. Politics of merit, i.e. we promote people that have merit to be promoted, not because of skin colour, sexuality or any of the above. The second we started trying to fight all of those things, we became what we were fighting. Did we not? I actually say good luck with that, but he is right. We can win this war, but it needs dedication and action, in my opinion. The time for fear is over. This is an attack on everything we hold dear. If we want to protect what we have, not just for us, but for our children and our children's children, etc., we need to act now, or we're going to lose everything. I really do believe that. If the UK has to be judged by its past, so should everybody else, and just for equality and all that. So maybe we should start picking apart every country in the world, shall we? Should we start looking for all the skeletons and laying all of those bare as well, including, I don't know, France, Germany, Italy, America, Mexico, Africa, the Middle East. Should we just go through the lot of them and just tear everyone's culture to pieces? Because it seems to be a very one-sided thing, does it not? But anyway, I'd like to know your opinion on this. I'd like to know, do you think this guy's he has hit quite a fair few nails on the head, hasn't he? And it does highlight the fact that even some of the left, what we would actually class as the left, not these radical nut jobs that have come out of universities, but the actual left, even they are now seeing the error of their ways and are starting to come across to maybe a little bit more of an enlightened position. But you never know. Hopefully keep your fingers crossed. I believe we can do it. I believe this nation is capable of anything. Stay safe, everyone. Don't forget to hit the subscribe bell icon. Make sure you put it on all, otherwise it doesn't notify you, and I'm having a few problems with people saying they're not getting notified. So please just double check it if you can, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.